On the surface, while it might appear facile to tackle low-hanging fruit in comparing two upcoming films based merely on the premise that they fall within the same genre and releasing a month apart, that's basic. I can assure you, this is the mind's eye and we dig a little deeper with our breakdowns around these here parts.
Maybe you just can't get past the surface of things.
You may be surprised to learn that the two films on the chopping block for this video have more than meets the eye in common than appearances might suggest. I've visited this subject once before when I made a side-by-side comparison of two female-led prequels that dropped August 2022 when I juxtaposed Prey vs. Orphan Kills, which I invite you to take a gander at. But that can wait! I've got your attention and you're in my clutches now, at least until the end of this video. So let's make the most of your abduction and evaluate not just the recent trailers of Scream 6 and Evil Dead Rise, but appraise the status of each series. Regarding those deep dive resemblances that I mentioned, how interesting is it that for the first time in each franchise, both Scream and Evil Dead find their most iconic protagonists absent in a mainline entry, both with the same last name, Neve Campbell and Bruce Campbell, respectively. Coincidence? Why, yes, they're not related. Exhibit B. Both installments have not only opted for a change in venue, but have relocated from an isolated setting such as a remote cabin in the woods or secluded suburbs to the big city. In Evil Dead Rise, their choice of meat grinder scenery is an apartment in the City of Angels, while Scream is taking up residence in the city that never sleeps. How do you prefer your blue state hipster cesspool? Hobo piss in the subways, or homeless excrement in the streets? Now is where I play favorites because whereas I'm actually looking forward to Evil Dead's shakeup in environment, I'm left utterly apathetic over Scream's choice of destination. While Evil Dead Rise's apartment background can serve as the perfect playground for malevolent spirits to make bloodbaths out of its hallways and toy with its residents,
Alright, this property is hereby condemned.
I'm far less optimistic that the latest Scream movie will get any mileage out of its superficial choice to shift gears and set its sights on the Big Apple. While the Empire City can provide a different brand of claustrophobia all its own, feeling deserted in an uncaring, bustling metropolis where crime is so constant the disadvantaged middle class are too unconcerned or afraid to help others, let's just say, I have my doubts that the crack team of writers currently gatekeeping the Scream license are smart enough to pull off innovation or nuance in a formulaic franchise, let alone conceive it. I'm sorry, I mispronounced that. Hack team of writers. Silly me. You're seriously gonna tell me that they got the smarts to subtly weave in the intricacies that come from your immediate surroundings into their plot, like the ones I just named?
Nah, son.
I have much more faith in the writers and direction behind Evil Dead's latest entry to pull this off because the trailers for that movie have actually been encouraging, unlike Scream 6's disheartening previews. Before we move off the topic of placement when it comes to plot, frankly folks, and here's where I need you to perk up your ears, I candidly don't think that Scream works outside of a small town. Dating back to John Carpenter's Halloween, before Blumhouse did what Blumhouse do and pilfered that IP, the suburbs have always been a classic stage for slasher films, portraying an idyllic landscape invaded by a masked maniac to peel back the layer to expose a dark secret or subversion of sheltered lifestyle. The funny thing is that you can still tell a story of society and the media's impact on it even within these countryside neighborhoods because the only two good Scream movies already pulled it off. Before our analysis cuts further to the bone, a quick word from our sponsors. Think of the power to tune out the whole world placed in your hands. Now think again, because Jabra Headsets puts that power in your ears. Listen closely. From workout earbuds to Bluetooth music headsets and office hearing devices. So, if other brands play your music sounding like a broken record, march to the beat of a different tune with Jabra. If you're an HD snob like me, you probably buy Samsung for all your major electronics. Catch up on your favorite horror classics on one of their Ultra HD TVs. Watch one of Scream Factory's Blu-rays on their 4K players. Keep up with updates from 80s horror documentary In Search of Darkness on a high-end tablet. Subscribe to your favorite YouTuber through one of their Galaxy phones. I have so many Samsung devices, I've always thought they should be paying me. Well, now they can, and you can help. If you use the link in the description for either Samsung or Jabra purchases, it'll help the channel out tremendously. With the promotional considerations accounted for, it's on with the show. While parallels between the overall series include minutiae like both getting adaptations to the small screen that ran for 3 seasons of TV and have now hit or surpassed 5 entries on the silver screen, there are yet more substantial equivalents that can be drawn in the upcoming films. Let's discuss gore for a beat. Scream 6. Melissa Barrera says next year's sequel gets 100 times gorier. I gotta ask, when exactly did Viscera become a selling point for entertainment when it literally takes no skill to pull off? Halloween Kills, Prey, Callisto Protocol, now Scream 6. All attempted to substitute slaughter for storyline to the point of using it in their advertising to no avail because crimes of passion make for a piss-poor proxy to plot. To me, it says something about either your priorities in the wrong place or utter insecurity for an anemic story that you've cobbled together that you need to rely on corn syrup to simulate bloodletting to market your movie instead of a compelling narrative to tell and interesting characters with which to tell it with. And that's not even half as insulting as when you take into account that wholesale blood splatter takes 0 skill to pull off. Need a further example of the dead end that over-reliance in gore has left the horror genre? Tobin Bell and Shawnee Smith are back for this year's Saw X. You know, you're in a narrative black hole when you've got Blood and Guts the movie where death itself means nothing. Both these characters died in part 3, and we're now in part 10. Guess they should have invested a little more time in plot and character instead of painting the franchise red, which is where they left their business model. But Inkarnate, I hear you dispute. You explained in your Evil Dead Rise trailer gut reaction that you were eagerly anticipating the carnage of that sequel, enthusiastically looking forward to the massacre in store for those characters, using phrases like sheer brutality and absolute butchery. Contradiction in your messaging? Yes, no? 'Tis true, my oddly snobbish disembodied voice of vaguely high society origin. However, in my defense, creative kills are quite frankly a different kettle of fish, which, if you think about it, gives me that rare opportunity to use that oldest of old-timey phrases, kettle of fish.
Metaphorically speaking.
Considering the Hellions that have always populated the rogues gallery of Evil Dead villains, it is hardwired into their nature that they would mangle their human prey, tormenting them in inhuman ways. You naturally expect the punishment doled out by these tormentors to be that of a sadist. Not so much with your slasher antagonist, where their means of homicide are hack and slash. It's literally in the job description. More to the point, think of dependence on gore as mere blood splattering across a wall, whereas the ruthless death scenes in an Evil Dead movie can lead to creative kills. See the difference? Freddy will cut open a puppeteer and string him up by his own veins before making him walk the plank. The killer in I Know What You Did Last Summer just stabs you. The Evil Dead Rise Red Band trailer is chock full of hints at memorable murders, and ain't that a key ingredient that horror's been missing? I mean, as far as the fiendish forces literally at play in Evil Dead Rise, what else are they supposed to do? Torture the living with restless minor inconveniences like excessive seasoning from a spice rack?
Hey, honey, you want some salt for your steak?
Yeah, sure.
Gotcha. That's more salt than you wanted.
Methinks not.
Metaphorically speaking.
My final point of comparison between the films is, while both series have lost the faces of their respective franchises, both films retain leading ladies as their central figure. I mean, do I really have to explain which flick comes out on top here? Even with Scream's one film head start, which it totally squandered, Evil Dead Rise is the clear winner, and it hasn't even come out yet. I articulated my points in my gut reaction why the redhead made quite the impression just from the 2-minute trailer alone, but suffice it to say, I'm confident that we're looking at the makings of a horror great in this one, and keep in mind, she's the villain of the movie. Take this into account, franchise fans. This appears to be the first time that an Evil Dead film has a big bad main villain, which allows for more screen time for her to wreak all sorts of havoc. Whereas the soul-swallowing life forces of the Evil Dead historically have bounced from one unwilling host to another, possessing the bodies and stringing along their marionettes like human parodies, there's never been a through-line adversary to embody the evil of the dead. The closest the series has is Evil Ash, but how long is he even in Army of Darkness? Conversely, the injured Ginger dominates the trailer runtime. Her screen presence is captivating. Her look and her line delivery are the stuff of nightmares. They even put her on the poster. On the other hand, seriously, the new female character from Scream 2022 was utterly forgettable, and bear in mind, they had 2 of them, both returning for this year's sequel. Let's collectively admit that the actress playing the older sister is about as wooden as Morning Hard-On, and the best the writers could do to build up any intrigue with her was connect her to a past dead character, capped off with scenes of conversations between them. That's right, that character development once again. The only interesting moments involving that woman, whose name you can't remember, was when she had to be carried through her scenes by a ghost. That's a hell of a final girl you're banking on there, franchise. And even if you want to switch gears in favor of Greta Thunberg over there, what impression did Jenna Ortega even leave on last year's Scream movie? We're supposed to believe she's grown some form of acting chops to knock it out of the park this time around? A history lesson, fans. The Hollywood machine has tried and failed to artificially engineer a box office it girl for decades, from Dakota Fanning, Millie Bobby Brown, even Jennifer Lawrence. They even tried to make Emilia Clarke a thing. Jenna Ortega will be just another failed experiment. We'll see how big a payoff all that meme marketing was on the Wednesday show, but I'll tell you this much. Thirst trap advertising through TikTok dancing sure didn't salvage Annabelle 2.0 from the junk pile that its script should have been left in, now did it? Speaking of which,
Beautiful 180, crazy, thinking about the way.
I don't know what the hell this horror trend is, but knock it off. And this epidemic sadly isn't even exclusive just to horror.
He almost tasted that. Num 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 num, eat it up. Go play okay, 3, 2, 1. You know I'm the hottest. You ain't never gotta heat me up.
both absolutely dreadful.
Well, horror fans, these were a few of my findings and insights into each individual franchise, their upcoming installments, and the winner of my choosing by TKO. I hope you're as excited about Evil Dead Rise as I am. The drip feeding of film plot and movie stills have been nothing short of masterful marketing, as well as the Red Band trailer. It's the most anticipated scary movie of 2023 for my hard-earned cash, and I hope yours too. And wouldn't it be a nice win for Sam Raimi 1 year after his talents were wasted on another film about a psycho mom? I've been Inkarnate, reminding you, I ain't just a big deal, I'm the real deal. If you're resigned to your fate, time to subscribe to your fears.